Hello, everyone. Well, welcome and thank you for taking the time to join us for the UMass Icons Spring Info Session. This is wonderful. We have so many students here. This is probably one of our larger online Zoom webinar type info sessions since the pandemic started. So very exciting. We have students, potential students joining us from all over the world, all over the United States. So this is just wonderful to have you all here. And again, I do thank you for taking the time to learn a little bit more about the UMass Icons program and UMass Amherst. We will do our best to answer any questions you may have about the program and about the experience that we've all had at UMass Amherst. We probably won't have a lot of technical questions. Some of you asked questions ahead of time regarding residence halls and how do I choose this. I would leave those up to the experts and advisors of programs and residence life and things like that. But our students and Scott Auerbach and myself can talk to you a little bit about our experience at UMass. So my name is Wesley Dunham. I am the Strategic Communication and Program Manager for UMass Icons. I am the main staff person. I deal with all the day-to-day operations and student advising. So if you ever have a question about icons in the future and you send it to the icons email, that will be me most likely answering you. I'd like to thank our guests tonight. We do have 4 students, perhaps a 5th coming, unless Kush is already here, and the executive director of Icons, Scott Auerbach. Each of our panelists, let's say, will say a little bit about themselves and introduce themselves and then be around for questions. Our goal is to provide you info about Icons and about UMass, mostly from a student perspective. We have a wide range of students, which you'll hear about. We have a first-year student, 2 seniors, and at this point, 1 Sam, are you a junior? Yeah, Sam's a junior, I believe. There were many questions ahead of time. We will not be able to answer them all, but we're going to do our best to answer the majority or the main ones, some that we've heard for the past few years. And we're going to leave a lot of time at the end for questions. So feel free to put questions in the chat, especially if there's ones for a particular student. And so again, we will do our best to answer everything, but you can email Icons with any questions you have. So without further ado, I'd just like to thank our students. Maya, class of 23, if you can just wave, say hello. We have Sam, class of 24, which is a junior. I'm just going to say 3rd-year student. Uma, who's our 1st-year student, say hello. Kush, are you here? I'm going to guess no, since you don't have a camera on. And Emily Laws, she's a graduating senior, so welcome. I'd now like to introduce Scott Auerbach, the Mahoney family-sponsored executive director of the UMass Icons program, which fits nicely on a business card. So take it away, Scott.
Okay, hello everybody. I just want to say thank you to everybody, to the present students who are here, to Wesley, and to our special guests, folks who are facing an important decision where they're going to go to college or if they'd like to apply to the Icons program. So at the end of this hour, we hope that you say yes to both. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got a couple, 2, 3, maybe 8 slides here. So let me grab them. I'll share. And got to make sure I'm sharing the right thing. I have shared the wrong thing in the past, so that's a problem. Okay, here we go. So as you may have heard, ICONS stands for Integrated Concentration in STEM. It's actually a program that brings together students from across about 45 different majors at UMass, covering all, not only STEM, but also the business fields, business and STEM. And ICONS was invented for a pretty simple reason. The fact is the world has a lot of problems. I mean, if we think about the fact that we're still getting most of our energy from burning fossil fuels, For a long, long time, it was 80%. Now it's down to 79%. I mean, that needle is not moving. Mounting garbage. The uncertainty about climate change. We know we're feeling it now, but is it going to be even worse than people are guessing? And of course, the specter of things like cancer, COVID, infectious disease. I mean, I know I can't see you all, and I know that your cameras are probably off, but I'm just going to ask this question. How many people are concerned about the future? I'm raising my hand, and I'm going to guess that a lot of you are too. So the real question is, how can we learn to tackle these problems together? Thank you, Charles, for raising your hand as well. So how can we learn to tackle these problems together? And so the key in the iCons program is that you're probably not going to be able to do it on your own. What we need is diverse teams of students working on today's big problems. The diversity is important because these problems are bigger than any one field. So we have the students who you're going to hear from today come from psychology, they come from finance, they come from chemistry, biochemistry, physics, et cetera, a cross-section of the fields that are needed. But what we really need to do is learn how to bring those fields together via teams of students to address big problems. Now we've got three areas that we focus on in iCons: biomedicine, health of people, health of the planet, clean energy, and new upcoming area, food, water, climate. That's one problem with three names. So iCons is about learning how to work in diverse teams on today's big problems. So the mission of iCons is to inspire, well, you folks. I mean, to be honest, you folks inspire us to do what we do, and we hope to inspire you back. And it's one big circle of inspiration. But at the end of the day, we want to inspire a diverse generation of innovators. And here's a picture. And actually, we have some students who are in this picture here today. We have Maya. And let's see, I'm looking real quick. I don't think we have anybody else here. But these folks come to iCons for a variety of different reasons. Pursuing interests outside of your major. You know you have to pick a major, but you don't want to paint yourself into the corner. You have so many interests. What's an opportunity for you to pursue those? iCons. A lot of students want to know that there are certain skills that they need to get. How to collaborate across different cultures, how to communicate, how to figure out what's the right question to ask. These are skills that we can guarantee you're going to get in iCons. And then there's the biggie, which is, you've been hearing about these problems for so long. You want to start working on them right away. You don't want to be told you have to wait till you're a junior or a senior, or maybe you graduate college. You're chomping at the bit to work on these problems, and you can do it in iCons. So what is iCons? It is basically 4 courses, iCons 1, 2, 3, and 4, creatively named. And what we do is we thread these courses through these 45 different majors to make something like a pipeline for innovation. So in iCons 1, that's where you start to generate some ideas. In iCons 2, you learn how to communicate about those ideas, write proposals, start to win hearts and minds. iCons 3, start to prototype, come up with solutions. And in iCons 4, you actually stick the landing by picking a problem that you're passionate about and trying to solve it. So the way we imprint this onto your 4-year academic program looks like this. So I'm not going to go through the courses again. This is a reminder for me to remind you that we have 2 tracks right now in iCons, one in the field of biomedicine, one in clean energy, and we can hear from students. We have students from both tracks here, so you can hear about the work that they're doing. I just want to emphasize there might be students on the call who are transfer students who are coming in as a 2nd-year student. And I also want to emphasize that if there are students who are coming in as 1st-year students on this call, you can also come into iCons as a 2nd-year student. So you can come into iCons, you take iCons 1 here, and you would double up in iCons 2 and 3 here. So at the end of the day, learn to work in teams, learn how to communicate, learn how to prototype on solutions, and then, as I said, stick the landing by really trying to solve a problem. And the magic of iCons, I mean, there's a lot of magic here, but a big part of the magic is that these courses mostly count for stuff you need to take. So iCons is approximately credit neutral. That's critical, especially if you're an engineer, because your schedule is already packed. So we've made deals with all the engineering departments to make sure that these iCons courses can fit and they count for stuff that you need. So let's see, I'm pushing the button and it's not moving forward. There we go. I just real quick wanted to give you 3 little vignettes of stories of students who, experienced, honestly, transformation in iCons. One is a story of Jack Moody. He's actually an orphan. He came to UMass. He was adopted about a week before he started college. And I think it's safe to say he found a home in the iCons program. He ended up in the Army. And the thesis that he did was considered so important that it was actually classified by the Army. And he was the only non-West Point grad to make it into the cyber ops in the year that he, went there. So he is, we keep in touch with all of our alums, and we're very proud of Jack. Ryan McKenna is a senior this year. And this is a story about a student who gained not only skills in iCons, but a diversity of skills that allowed her as an industrial engineer to get an internship where she could do chemical manufacturing. Those are really very different things. And so her internship supervisor characterized Ryan as a Swiss Army knife. She could basically do anything that they needed her to do. And that's kind of one of the attitudes and perspectives that you get in iCons. And finally, here's a story about 4 women who came into iCons and got excited about an idea in iCons 1 and used the iCons 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4 years of college to really cultivate their idea. And as you can see, they were able to start a company and raise some money for their idea. And that's something that we encourage very strongly in iCons. So when you're done with iCons, what do you get? You get a certificate, and you also have incredible experiences that help you to get to where you want to go. So our students enjoy outstanding placement in, careers, but there's also iCons 5. iCons 5 is we jokingly call the real world iCons 5, but it's also the alumni network. There's a very strong alumni network that are committed to your success, helping you, giving you, advice on what it's like out there. I mean, it's been like 30 years since I looked for a job, so it's better to get advice from them. So at the end of the day, I just wanted to tell you where we've gone here, which is, what is iCons? And honestly, why should you apply to iCons? It's a certificate in real world problem solving. You're working on problems that are happening today. They haven't been solved. They need you to be working on them. Student driven. It's not something that I've emphasized, but you'll probably hear it from the students. You get to pick the problems. You get to design the solutions that are important to you and the members of your team. As I said, it fits within your major, and it gives you a chance to meet people in other majors. The one thing is, we do ask you to apply, but we're here to help. The application is pretty simple. It's 3 short questions. What's an experience that you've had that makes you interested in iCons? How does iCons help you with your future career aspirations? And the obvious one, what's a big problem, and how can the confluence of business and STEM help to solve it? So here's some key dates, and we're going to make sure that you're aware of these dates. Obviously, May 1st is looming. The application portal opens up around September 1st, and you've got about 5 or 6 weeks to apply. And we make sure to go into every single class, STEM and business, to make sure that they're aware of it. The website's on the bottom. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank you so much for your time here today. Obviously, we have fantastic students who are here to answer your questions, as I will. So thank you very much. I'm going to stop sharing and hand it back to Wesley.
Right, thank you. Scott, we have there's a lot of sort of high-level operational questions. I'm going to save those to the end, just so we can chat with our students a little bit. But there are plenty of questions that, and one is in the chat, and I'll just answer this one. How many students are accepted into iCons each year? And currently, we are accepting 72 students each year. divided somewhat evenly between the two tracks, biomedicine, biosystems, and renewable energy. So that is a common question. So as Scott said, it is an application process, and we accept 72 students into the program. Now I would like to invite Maya to come off mute and tell us a little bit about you.
Hi everyone, I'm Wesley. I mean, I'm not Wesley.
We've done this
I'm
too many
Maya.
times.
I'm Maya. I was gonna say, as Wesley mentioned, I'm a senior. I'm a biochem and math double major. I'm on the biomedicine track in iCons. I'm also getting a certificate in Spanish and health. I'm from New Jersey, so not Massachusetts. And I have like a funny story only because I never envisioned myself going to UMass in any capacity. I only applied because my friend went to visit and was like, oh, it's a nice school. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll apply. So I applied, I got in, I went for a tour, absolutely hated it. Went for a second tour during accepted students, like the acceptance students weeks or days or whatever they are. And I, for some reason, I don't know what changed, but I absolutely loved it. I loved the campus environment that it is. It's kind of like, if you tour a lot of schools, some of them are kind of like built into a city. Some of them are very campus feeling. UMass is very campus feeling, which was really appealing to me. And yeah, it's kind of crazy because I couldn't have imagined my last 4 years anywhere else other than UMass. And I'm so happy I ended up choosing it. So I definitely would say keep your mind open when you're going to go choose a college. Even if you don't like it once, doesn't mean you won't like it the second time. So a little bit about me. I do research currently. I'm in a kinesiology lab where we study accelerometers, trying to better calibrate them. So that's like an Apple Watch, just making sure that how it's processing the data is actually accurate and representative of your movement. And then I also do work with 2 of actually iCons students on our senior thesis, which is in Alzheimer's disease, trying to understand a interaction between a receptor and a protein that allows a special protein called tau, which is involved in Alzheimer's disease, to spread throughout the brain. So that's what my research is on. Outside of that, I'm currently the co-president for a music club I started on campus. I'm an EMT on campus. I've been a teaching assistant for a few classes. I'm currently a teaching assistant for the iCons 3 class, which is a lot of fun. And yeah, that's about me. I could probably tell you more, but I don't want to bore you guys with all the details.
Oh.
So
All right, thank you. Maya, as a senior, I do have one question that several students asked ahead of time. What's the workload time commitment for this?
yeah, so it's definitely the same as, any honors level class that you're going to take at UMass, since all the iCons courses carry honors credit. So that's 4 credits. So it depends on your week to week. It could be, if you have a presentation coming up, maybe you're doing a little more that week because you're prepping for your presentation. Maybe you and your group have more to discuss, or you're running an experiment that week. And then some weeks, maybe you have a little less. So it definitely depends on the week to week, but it's no more than you would expect from any other honors class.
Okay. And I like to ask this to all our students. Maya, what is one thing that sometimes gets overlooked in these type of sessions that you want to tell us about? Maybe something, I don't know, something that gets overlooked and we don't talk about enough.
I think with iCons, we're so like, oh my gosh, it's so cool. We're solving problems, which is the case. We are cool. We are solving problems. But I think what's even more amazing is all the connections I've made in the program. So I have people who I might not have met in my regular classes because they're from different majors and I would have never met them, or I had lectures with them that were like 300 people and I never saw them. You also get to make really great relationships with the iCons professors. And I think that those are really special because when you go to your bio lecture, you're going to have a professor who's, seeing you in that realm of like, oh, I'm asking questions about the topic. But I think iCons professors get to see a whole different side of you. And that's more personal, that they get to learn about you, what like inspires you, your work ethic. And so I think it's a really unique opportunity to kind of build your network at UMass.
Great. All right. Well, thank you. That was very helpful. Again, lots of questions in the chat. We're answering some as we go, and we'll try to get to those that we don't answer later. So thank you, Maya. And I'd like Sam now to come off mute and introduce yourself, preferably as me.
Thank you. I'm also Wesley. I'm Sam Saunders. I'm a finance major, class of 2024 on the renewable energy track. And so for me coming to UMass, I'd like to echo what Maya said. Based on my first tour, I didn't really like the thought of going to UMass. I saw the Fine Arts Center and didn't really enjoy that. But yeah, my brother went here, so that really helped give me like an idea of really what it was about, based on like all the friendships and connections he'd made at Eisenberg. And so that's why I ended up applying to Eisenberg. And while I was there, I was a sophomore, fresh off the COVID year. And it felt like my world was kind of small. Like I'm going to the same building for all my classes. It's all finance. And so that was something that was really intriguing about iCons. And as Scott said, it being credit neutral was huge, because I'm a chemistry minor and finance and chemistry don't really align. So a lot of my classes are taken up by both of those fields. And I don't really have time to take a bunch of other classes in between. But I also wanted to do something more with my college. And so I thought iCons was a perfect idea, and it has turned out to be very great. I didn't really know what I was getting into when I started, but through iCons 1, it was just a breath of fresh air, because in all your classes, you'll be in some group work of some sort. But in a lot of them, a lot of the people don't really care. There's some weird power dynamic where one person's telling everyone what to do, or there's one person that's not pulling their weight. But everyone who applies to iCons wants to be there. So they're all going to pull their weight. They're all want to involve themselves. And that's what's really cool about it being multidisciplinary, is that there may not be something that I know as a finance major, but I'll have some physics major or bio major in my group, and they'll be able to pull their weight where I can't. And likewise, I'll be able to pull my weight where they can't. And so that's what was really cool about the teamwork within iCons. And for me, one of the projects I worked on was offshore wind, and how can we make that a more economic implementation. And so we looked at some of the physics and math behind how the rotors work. And we also looked at prices, projections going to the future. And so it was something that we could all contribute on. And that's what was so cool about that project for that case.
Great. All right. Sam, the same question I asked Maya. Is there anything that you think is sometimes overlooked, some hidden little thing about iCons?
I think she hit the nail right on the
Yeah.
head. Like, there's so many people in iCons that I never would have met without being in iCons, but you also take 2 to 3 classes with them. So it's not like you're sitting in some chemistry lecture and you have a group mate and then you never see them again. You're going to work with these people for the next couple of years. So it helps to really make like a solid connection with some of those people. And it like it's like more of a working relationship, whereas a lot of the relationships you'll have in the dorms will just be some sort of friendly relationship. And so it's nice to have some sort of professional relationship on campus.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Sam, for that. I'm now going to have Uma come off and say hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm Uma. I'm a freshman, so I'm in iCons 1 this year. Emily is my TA, so hi, Emily. I'm also from New Jersey. If anyone has seen The Sopranos, it is filmed right by my town. That's how I just like to give people a general geographic estimation. I'm a psychology major, and I also recently added a second major in BDIC. It stands for a bachelor's degree with individual concentration. It's UMass's fancy way of saying make your own major. So that is what I do in terms of academics. And outside of academics, I am a campus tour guide. So if you ever do come to campus, you may or may not see me on tour. And I'm also part of the Student Alumni Association. So my tour guide who showed me around campus and clubs like the Student Alumni Association and iCons were the reasons that I did pick UMass. The Student Alumni Association works on connecting students to alumni and practicing your professional and networking opportunities in a more relaxed manner than just wearing like a suit all the time or wearing like a business professional dress and having like shake hands. It's more so just working on presenting yourself in more casual settings. So all of that combined, and icons with the opportunity to do research, like the other panelists have been saying, I definitely wanted a class where I knew that I can rely on seeing the same people every year, potentially every other semester. I really like that idea. And I also like how it was mentioned earlier, you didn't have to wait to be an upperclassman to start working on problems. It's really nice to be able to ask questions and be able to work on finding answers. We're never discouraged, and we do get the chance to figure out our groups and figure out sort of what we want out of the class, which is really nice compared to just having a strict syllabus and being told what to do. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Uma, and I apologize if you mentioned this, I'm looking at time, I'm looking at questions, but can you talk about the two projects that did you talk about the two specific projects you're working on in Icons 1?
No,
I'd love to hear a little bit more, because all these students in theory well, not in theory, in practice, their first class will be Icons 1, and it'll be their like an introduction to what we do in Icons. So what are you actually working on, your two projects?
So Icons 1 consists of 2 case studies, and what a case study is essentially there's a topic. The first topic it's not necessarily chosen for us, but at orientation for Icons, all the students who do attend orientation get to sort of come together and vote on what topic they would like to choose. And this voting is more so a bunch of different students saying, I want to do this, I want to do this, and then we all come together and collectively vote, and whichever has the highest votes, that's the topic that we did. For my cohort, we did water scarcity. That was our first case study. So what that consisted of is we had this broad topic of water scarcity, we had our groups, and then our question would just vary by group. So not everyone was researching the same exact thing. My group personally did a more survey type of study in trying to see water wastage in the dining halls. So we wanted to sort of see how many people were actually wasting water. We had some other groups who are working on collecting groundwater or measuring the more technological engineering aspects of it. So there was psych, there was engineering in just 2 case studies. And then the second case study, we got to pick our own topic, which is what we're doing now, which is really exciting. And with this, the really nice part was, again, they meaning our instructors for Icons 1 remembered and had ideas that we had mentioned during orientation, the more popular ideas, and they brought it back to us and were like, hey, you guys were all very interested in this last semester. How about we do something about this now? So we had all these posters around the room with our different ideas. And again, we got to go up to these different ideas, talk to the students who proposed it, and they were trying to recruit people. So it's kind of like a career fair, like a club fair at Pitch Perfect, where everyone's like, do this, come join us. So it's kind of like that in the sense that everyone's advocating for their ideas and trying to recruit you into their group. And then once you did have your topic, you had your group. Now we're working on actually proposing something. So having a research question and sort of figuring out, okay, we have a question, how do we answer it?
Great, thank you. And did you feel comfortable right away in Icons, or was there any imposter syndrome, or how was your experience those first few weeks?
I would say definitely a little bit of imposter syndrome, just like the other panelists I mentioned. You go from these larger lecture halls to actually getting to have these one-on-one connections with different students, but also just having the different professors being like, oh, like I see like we're not all feeling this today, let's switch gears to something else. So I feel like being heard and like being collaborated with in that sense was a little bit, I was kind of like, well, like this is something to get used to, but it's not like this lasted the entire semester. I would say definitely by like the second week after that first syllabus week was over, definitely felt a lot more comfortable saying hi to my teammates and starting to get ready to work on something exciting.
Great. Well, thank you so much. That was very helpful. Again, you can keep the questions going in the chat, and if we don't get to them, we'll try to scan them and do them in a more of an open QA portion. I'd now like to ask Emily to come off. Emily, do you have a sling?
Yes, I do.
Sorry not to. Oh, I hope you are okay. And now that I got you laughing, why don't you go ahead?
No, you're good. If you're going down a hill on a longboard, please be careful. That's my message for that. Okay. Hi. My name is Emily. I am a senior majoring in physics, and I minor in classical civilization. I essentially am trying to understand the social aspects of science. I am in Icons 10, Planet X. the 10th cohort, and I'm also UMass TA, as you said before. And essentially, when I was in high school, I found physics, and I'm just like, this is really great. And then I went to environmental science classes, and it's like, oh, now I have a reason to apply for. So I was thinking nuclear fusion physics. Where the heck does that go? There's no major for that, essentially. But then I come here and it's like, oh, look, you can do any STEM major and go into renewable energy. And I'm like, this is literally perfect. This is exactly what I was asking for. So I signed up for that. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to get in, and just going from there, you meet so many different students. And the thing with physics is that it's a pretty small major, it's relatively rare in the STEM field. So I met a lot of not physics majors, and then I got to learn about different things that, people outside of theoretical math do, essentially. And first you get to find your case studies that you like to do, and then you get to learn to communicate them. And then now I'm in icons 3 and 4. And while it is a lot of work, I will say it's work that I enjoy doing, so it makes it so much easier to do. And now, I've honestly, icons has just kind of brought every opportunity that I've ever really looked for. I've gotten connected to my honors work for it. I'm looking in career aspects where I got connections because of icons. It's just really kind of helped me a lot all over the place. And now I'm hoping to show that here.
Wonderful. Emily, I'm curious, what has your experience been like as a TA in the first icons course, icons 1?
Yeah, I am currently, I believe, the only TA for the renewable energy section. So it is, I'm really grateful that I get to provide a unique perspective for the class. And honestly, it's just one of the most rewarding experiences, just to be able to, to have grown through the icons program, and then to be able to help other people and to see them grow, like to see Uma and to see your classmates just thriving and just having a really good time and just going after these big ambitious projects and really looking to make a change. And it gives me hope, sort of like what Scott has said before, just like getting that chance to see all of you growing up and with smiles on your faces being like, we're gonna do something and we're gonna make a change, that just I find that really nice. I don't know how to quite describe the feeling, but it's definitely been worth it. I'll say that much.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad you talked about that. Maya, you're also a TA in an icons course, right? The icons 3 bio lab. And one thing is we do try to have upper level icon students be TAs, teacher assistants. They assist the instructors in our icons 1, 2, and 3 classes. So that's an opportunity to get experience as a teaching assistant in the future if you want. Well, again, thank you, Emily. And I'd now like to do more of a large scale Q&A. This is probably the most questions I've ever seen in one of these chats. So thank you so much. Actually, a great question just popped up about grading, which I know comes up a lot. And Scott, I'm curious if you can discuss, because I think it touches on many points about the difference between icons and what students will experience in other classes. Can you talk about grading?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. That's a great question. So when you commit to working on solving or tackling or addressing or studying a real world problem, it can be kind of terrifying, because do you need to actually solve that problem to get an A in the class? The answer is no. Yeah, and of course, we're really not about getting an A in a class. We're about learning how to work together. And I think, and the students, I welcome their input on this. I think when you bring your 110 % into icons, because you got to pick the problem that you want to work on, you got to pick the angle that you want to take, you find that even though it's hard work because, these are hard problems, but you find that you are actually excited about the work because it's your baby. I mean, Maya can, speak to this because her project that she's working on for her senior thesis is something that was a creation of her and her two, teammates. And that kind of changes the feeling. So the way that we think about grading is, first of all, we have a growth mentality, which is we are about, growth. In a typical class, you need to master these 15 things. And if you master these 15 things, do you get an A? In iCons, what we do is we like to offer sort of a menu of learning opportunities. And we ask students on this menu, what are the learning opportunities that are important, to you? So for example, in the iCons 2 class, which focuses on communication, some students may decide that writing and speaking are important. Other students may decide that making, visuals or creating podcasts is important. And so what you get to do is you get to sort of pinpoint the learning outcomes that you want to focus on. And then what we do is we sort of monitor your progress on those areas that are near and dear to your heart. And at the end of the day, the grade takes care of itself, because when you pick the problem that you want to work on and you put your 110% in and you show up for yourself and your teammates, everything works out fine.
Wonderful, thank you. I would welcome any of our icon students to answer the question about how have you found, has there been, do you have a story or anything about bringing your personal interests, not just your major experience, into some of your projects? Now, Uma, you've had limited experience in this in the first year, but the other three, have any of you have any stories about something you want or that you have an interest in, and how you've been able to bring that into the group or to the project? And if
I can
Sam,
speak on this.
Yeah.
So actually this spring break, I went to Barcelona, and so that was a very fun time. And something I noticed over there is that the public transit systems over there are just far superior to what we have here. And so when I came back and we were talking about possible projects for this year, I was thinking of, looking at metro systems and how infrastructure can be improved here in order to boost the efficiency of day-to-day travel. And so I thought that was very cool to be there and experience what different public transit looks like. And so now that I'm back here, something that I'm working on in iCons 2 is looking at metro systems and different other areas of public transportation and how they're interconnected and how they all kind of affect, they're all part of one system.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I would say for me, my personal interest has always been medicine, because I'm pre-med. And so I think that I've been able to incorporate human health almost into every project I've done. So one of them was about microplastics. But even when you're researching microplastics, you can learn about, human health and the effect that it could have on the body. iCons 2, I did a project on possibly making sutures that are antibiotic resistant to help with surgical site infections. And now I'm working on Alzheimer's disease research, which could possibly help with drug development. So I think that, there's a lot of opportunities for you to kind of, even if it's in a little way or a big way, incorporate your interests overall in your personal life into your icons program, problems that you choose.
Great.
And at least on my end, it wasn't so much that personal interest I brought into icons, but it's more that icons kind of revealed personal interest in a sense. For icons 4, when we were making a non-technical communication project, I was thinking through, what kind of communication product I would want to make. And then I realized that something I really like to do is I like to help other people. I like, helping people answer questions, or if it's hard physics questions because physics is hard, then, I'm glad to help out. But essentially, if I can make somebody feel better, then that's what I want to do. And thinking about it, the first thought that came to my head for this communication project was actually my mom, because she never got to go to college. She didn't really get that chance. And at one point in the car, we were just talking about things, and somehow she came up. She's just like, I don't really know what climate change is. Can you tell me about that? And there's a big light up moment. So I'm just like telling her, like, here's how this thing is, here's how it works, here's what you can do, that kind of thing. And then she lit up and she's like, I'm gonna go and do all these things. And ever since, I have been seeing the reactions, and she's like, oh, look, I bought these reusable, eco-friendly things. I'm like, oh my goodness. And it just was the best feeling. So that memory clicked. And then I'm like, wait, I can actually work with this. And so that was the motivation and inspiration for the podcast that I then proceeded to make, was all about, drawing that kind of reaction and being like, it's okay not to have the time or not to be able to understand. Let's work together. And it's not something I really had the time or feasibility to process if it weren't for being in iCons, where they just asked, like, what do you want, And now I want to do science communication. So I guess it worked out.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Uma, I don't want to disregard any thoughts you might have just because you're in Icons 1, but I also don't want to put you on the spot. So I've done both.
I will say, just hearing all this makes me so excited to continue on in Icons. But for me, I would say an experience just having the second case study I mentioned earlier, we got to pick our topic. So my group is researching the effects of the specific herbicide on just gut bacteria. And that's always something that we all wonder about, because we're always eating stuff. We obviously don't grow our own food for the most part. So I think just getting the liberty to do that is really exciting. And that's something that I'm a psychology major. Like, I'm not studying food science or anything. I just kind of eat my food, let it do its thing. So hearing about everyone else's project, but also getting to work on this on like a smaller scale, it's just really exciting.
Wonderful. Thank you. This question is going to be for Scott. Scott, the main question is, does Icons cost something? But I'd also like you to expand that into and flip it about opportunities for students when it comes to research, scholarship, anything like that.
Yeah, so thank you for that question. No, Icons doesn't cost anything extra. You don't have to pay anything extra. But what you do get, and I think Uma touched on this, and I think a lot of students have touched on this, is that you get, so college is 120 credits. Icons is 20 of those 120 credits. So it's 1/6 of college, where you have time and space to work on stuff that you really care about. So that's really the resource that Icons provides, in addition to the faculty who are there to help you. But in addition to that, we do have funding. So if you have a research opportunity, if you have a research idea, if you have an idea for a product, we actually have a grant from a local entrepreneurship supporting agency. We should probably tell people about this, Wesley, that we have this funding. So if you have an idea for a product, you want to start a company, but you need funding to develop a prototype, we have funding for that. We also have scholarship funding. We all know that this business of solving real world problems takes time. And so if you need help because, for example, you need a job to pay for college and you need some scholarship funding, talk to us, because we have some opportunities to get scholarship funding as well. So no, Icons doesn't cost anything extra. I view it as a resource, 20 credits out of 120 credits to do stuff that you really care about and work with these awesome students. So I hope that helps to answer.
Yes, that is a common question for people. Now, the four students that we have here, may have mentioned this when they were introducing themselves, but people come late or we miss it. Unrelated to icons, do any of you have jobs on campus? And this will be a quick question if none of you do. Maya, you have, other than TAing for icons, you have a job on campus?
Yeah, I've had probably like 4 different jobs in my time here.
Oh yeah, well, I know one of them, but go on.
Yeah. Yeah, so I've worked as an EMT on campus. I've worked as an Orgo Lab TA. I've worked in the Student Organization Resource Center, as like basically almost kind of like a secretary, but basically I worked at the front desk of an office that's supposed to help with student groups on campus and help facilitate like whether they want to like purchase something or have an event or stuff like that. And oh, I work as a tech right now in the Orgo Lab. So
Okay. Did I see someone else shaking their head? No one else has a job.
I don't have
and-
like a paying job, but I run a club. I'm not sure if I should talk about that or not.
Sure, talk about it. It's an opportunity to
Uh,
learn something, right?
Yeah, I should have mentioned this earlier, but in addition to icons, I run the Society of Physics Students, which is essentially a group not just for physics majors, but also for minors and anybody interested, essentially to try and bring out the fun in physics, to show people here's what physics is, here's what we do, here's some cool things about it, and try to facilitate networking and just show different opportunities, take people to conferences, have all sorts of different events for studying and socializing and all that sort of thing. I'm the president this year, so I'm trying to launch a whole bunch of new initiatives and try to get things going before I graduate. And this is a time balance, but if we're getting it, we're doing things.
Right.
That's really it.
Wonderful. And I can speak as an alumnus of the university. We are a large research-based state university. If you need a job, if you are, just even if you want to work and don't need to work, there are plenty of positions on campus. So please get a job. And there's a lot. Some students have asked about lab-related jobs. I don't know how many are always paid or if you get credits, but a lot of the students, particularly in the life sciences, do find lab-related positions. I have heard about a central office or something. Maybe it's in CNS only that helps students find research labs. Is that, Maya, you're shaking your head? You know of this? Do you
it's
have a
called
name?
Ours Office of Undergraduate Research something.
So services, maybe. So
Services? Sure.
OURS.
Yes,
Hours, like
hours.
hours. Okay.
And I think I don't know exactly where it is. I kind of want to say it's in the library, but I don't know if that's true. But yeah, they're a service that is undergraduates. I'm sure there's also some other people, but I know my friends personally who have worked in there, who basically meet with you, go over your interests, go over like all about you, your goals, and help you to find labs on campus that are tailored to your interests. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
Great. I had another question I wanted to ask for students, and it happens to be, I think, more geared towards Maya, so sorry to have you talk again. We get a lot of students who are interested in pre-med, and I don't know if you were exactly a pre-med student, but you are certainly small p pre-med because you are going to med school next year. Congratulations. How can icons help that? Can it?
Icons has definitely tremendously helped me in getting to where I am. So yeah, I'm excited to say that I will be going to medical school after I graduate starting this July. But I would say it's helped in many ways. So the first way, like right off the bat, most of my recommendation letters came from icons professors just because I felt that the relationships I built with them like were very strong and ones that I felt like they really got to know me on a personal basis. So having those connections obviously helped. And then also when you go into these interviews for med school, they ask you a lot about like collaboration and times have you experienced diversity and all these different questions like that. And I think that's pretty hard to answer if you have been in like a normal, science track, just kind of getting through your classes, maybe making some friends along the way. But for me, I got to talk about collaboration in a whole different way. I'm working on a thesis with 2 other people, as I mentioned before, And that's not very typical to have a collaborative thesis. We also are doing a thesis not associated with a specific lab. So we kind of just built our project from the ground up. Everything we're doing is based off of like protocols that, you know, we found out. All the research has been done by us. We don't have like a graduate student or a PI there to like, you know, do everything or have everything already, you know, in place for us. So I think that experience of like learning to talk to people from different backgrounds, learning about, you know, like different things just makes you so much more well-rounded. You learn so much from other people. I think that even if you're not pre-med, I mean, this goes for pre-meds too, but even if you're not pre-med, I think there's just so much to gain in becoming a more well-rounded person for whatever that future career aspiration is. Even when you're going to apply to jobs, let's say you want to go to like work at a job in a tech company and you also have this like business knowledge now, you are just that much more ahead of the game and someone that you can like promote yourself differently than other applicants can. So I think in terms of real world connections and just having a greater breadth of knowledge, that's something that iCons really helps with.
Thank you. I want to tag on to that. Again, as a graduate of UMass, it is a very large school. And this isn't meant to scare anyone. You will be to some degree a small fish in a big pond. Icons is a way to create a smaller circle, to create, you know, we are a cohort and we are a community. Anything you can do in a situation like University of Massachusetts Amherst to help yourself stand out, whether it's on your LinkedIn page, your CV, resume later on, helps you. Icons is one of many different opportunities at UMass. So getting involved, again, provides great answers to interview questions, as Maya said. It gives you stories. It gives you real world research opportunities that you can actually list. We have a student, Push, who uses our innovation portal. And if you haven't checked out our innovation portal, please go to the Icons website. You'll have a link in your email. Check out the innovation portal. This will give you an example of projects. He has listed his projects on the innovation portal, and I know he shares them with employers because he's very proud of the work he's been doing. And so, you know, Icons, again, is a way to make UMass a little smaller. You may make a friend. You might find a professor who can be a mentor for you. You might get an internship, and you know, everyone gets something different out of the program. So I hope you choose UMass Amherst personally, and I hope you find your home there. And it's a wonderful experience for you. So I thank you. I think someone Scott put the innovation portal link in the chat. We have a long question if someone wants to read that for me. And Scott, I was wondering, I had it. Real quick, we're getting near the end, but Scott, there's two tracks: biomedicine, biosystems, and renewable energy.
Mhm.
I'm going to pretend to be a student. I don't really have an interest in those tracks.
Mhm.
Why should I join Icons?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Thank you.
I'm Wesley. No, I'm not. So that's a great question. And I think one way to think about it is, you know, it's about what's the community of sort of innovators that you want to be with. So the folks who come into the clean energy track, you know, there's a broad area of interest. You know, sustainability is a major area of that. Thinking about natural, you know, habitats is a major area. So there's a lot of people who, like I said before, view Icons as an opportunity to just pursue their interests. And you know, when we were first thinking about Icons in the olden days, I remember that there was the question: should we even have tracks? And we decided that we did want to have tracks because those tracks actually help to map on to job opportunities. So Maya's going into medical school. That's, you know, obviously biomedicine tracks onto that. So we decided that we did want to have tracks, but what we also decided was that we didn't want to be super strict about the, also there are some students who will switch tracks. Sometimes they have to switch tracks because of a scheduling, issue that they can't fit one course, so they take the other course. So at the end of the day, what it's about is being a curious, person who's interested in a lot of different things. And so if it's not obvious which track you would pick, honestly, you could flip a coin. I've made some major life decisions that way. But you could also just think about like, what are the kinds of, issues that I want to, learn about, that I want to think about. And so I think it all comes down to, here's an opportunity for you to spend some time in a different kind of learning environment. So, and of course, if there is a topic that you're really interested in, bring that into iCons. Teach us, show us that there are, other topics that are important. And that's, your iCons faculty are so open to what you think and what is important to you. So if the words biomedicine and clean energy aren't those things, then teach us what's important.
Wonderful. So I definitely feel like we could be here all night answering questions, but if anything, I want to be a stickler to time, your time. For some of you, who knows where you are, this could be the middle of the night and you want to go to bed. You have school tomorrow. So I'm going to, again, thank everyone who's joined us from outside UMass and outside the UMass iCons program. I'd like to thank our 4 students, Maya, Uma, Sam, and Emily, and Scott for taking the time tonight. Once again, we hope you choose UMass Amherst as your destination of higher education. And if you get here and iCons looks like something you want to do, please apply. So thank you very much. And I'd like to ask Scott just for some parting words.
Yeah. So I saw this, one of my favorite quotes. It's by Yeats. It's that education is not filling a bucket. It is lighting a fire. And we hope that this meeting tonight has lit a fire of interest and excitement in you about the possibility of being in iCons. We hope you come to UMass and we hope you apply. So want to light that fire. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Again, please email iCons if you have any additional questions. Have a wonderful rest of your day, night, whatever it is.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming.